If you've been named executor of an estate, two questions come up almost every time. Can I get paid for doing this? And usually more quietly, what happens if I make a mistake while I'm doing this? So both questions have clear answers. If you've been named executor or administrator of an estate, you already know this role takes some time, some effort, and obviously includes a fair amount of stress at times. My name is Ryan Smith. I'm a licensed realtor and certified probate expert. Every day I work alongside families navigating probate and estate administration. This video covers two specific questions: whether you can be compensated for this work and what your personal exposure looks like if something goes wrong. I'm not an attorney. What I'm sharing here is educational based on my experience of helping other families. It's not legal advice, but I do recommend you meet with an attorney that specializes in probate and estate administration. So let's start with the compensation question. The short answer is yes. At least here in North Carolina, executors are entitled to reasonable compensation from the estate for the work they perform. That's established under North Carolina law, and it applies whether or not the will mentions it. So now, what does reasonable actually mean? North Carolina doesn't set a fixed percentage. Compensation is based on factors like the complexity of the estate, the time the executor actually put into it, the value of the assets involved, and the skill required. In practice, probate attorneys in North Carolina often use a percentage of the estate as a starting reference point, but the court can adjust that up or down based on what work was actually required. A few things worth knowing is, first, compensation is taxable income to you. It's reported on your personal tax return and subject to ordinary income tax. Second, many family executors choose to waive compensation. If you're also a beneficiary of the estate, taking compensation reduces the estate value before distribution. Depending on the estate size and your tax situation, it can sometimes make more financial sense to waive it. A CPA who specializes in estates can run those numbers for you. Thirdly, if heirs dispute your compensation, the court can review and sometimes will adjust it. Here in North Carolina, that review happens through the probate process at the county level. So whether that's New Hanover, Brunswick, Pender County Clerk of Court, depending on where the estate was open. Keeping detailed records of your time and the decisions you make is essential in this process, but we'll come back to that later. Separate from compensation, the estate is also responsible for reimbursing the executor's reasonable out-of-pocket expenses: travel to manage the property, postage and certified mail costs, attorney and accounting fees you paid on the estate's behalf, property maintenance you coordinated and paid out of pocket, but you got to make sure you keep every receipt. Take pictures of those receipts as well in case you lose them. Reimbursements are separate from compensation and are not taxable income to you. They're simply returning money you spent on the estate's behalf. But again, keep those receipts. If any heir challenges an expense, sometimes they do, documentation is likely going to be your only defense here. Now let's talk about the other side of this. Being named executor comes with some real legal exposure. That's not meant to alarm anyone. It's just something every executor should understand clearly before they make any significant decisions. Your liability as executor flows from one source, and that's your fiduciary duty. You are legally required to act in the best interest of the estate and all of its beneficiaries. If and when you breach that duty, whether it was intentional or not, you can be held personally responsible for the consequences. Here are the most common situations where executors find themselves personally exposed. First is distribute assets before debts are paid. This is one of the most common mistakes. If you distribute estate assets to beneficiaries and a creditor surfaces afterwards, you may be personally liable to cover that shortfall. The second is mismanaging or simply wasting estate assets. That could come in the form of failing to secure property, making unauthorized repairs or sales, allowing an asset to lose significant value through neglect. These can all constitute a breach of that fiduciary duty. Another thing that happens sometimes is favoring one beneficiary over another. Every heir has equal standing. Making decisions that benefit one at the expense of another is a breach. Fourth is missing tax filing deadlines. The estate has filing obligations, so missing them can result in penalties that come out of the estate, and that can become your personal responsibility. As I always mention, I'm not an attorney. What I'm sharing is educational. It's not direct legal advice. I do recommend meeting with an attorney that specializes in probate and estate administration. If you need a recommendation for one, especially here in North Carolina, please feel free to reach out. I'd be happy to connect you with somebody. If you have any concern about personal exposure in an estate you're administering, talk to a probate attorney before you act, not after. The good news is that protecting yourself as an executor is really straightforward. It doesn't require being an expert in law or finance. It requires discipline around two primary things. The first one is documentation. Document every decision that you make, every communication, even with beneficiaries that you feel that you can or do trust, every expense that you pay, and every professional that you engage. Keep documentation of all that. If your reasoning is ever questioned by a beneficiary or a court, it's that documentation that you'll use to defend yourself. An executor with clear records is in a very different position than one without them. The second thing is sequence. So follow the proper order of operations. Notify creditors before you pay debts. Pay debts before you distribute assets. Get the estate formally closed before you step down or away from that role. Most executor mistakes that create personal liability come from acting out of sequence, usually under pressure from impatient beneficiaries. The most important protection of all, in my experience, is to engage a probate attorney early in the process, not waiting till when a problem surfaces. That's going to cost you more time, definitely more money, and more stress. So before you make any decisions that could create an issue, speak with that probate attorney. If you need one, I can connect you with a probate attorney who specializes in estate administration in this area, or really anywhere throughout North Carolina. So no cost for doing that, just simply reach out. Now, if real estate is part of the estate, it deserves specific attention on both of these topics. First is on the compensation side. Managing, maintaining, and eventually selling real estate or renting it is one of the most time-intensive parts of the executor role. That work is legitimately factored into your compensation. And then on the liability side, real estate is usually the estate's largest asset. So failing to secure it, letting the insurance lapse, making an unauthorized sale, or accepting an offer significantly below market value without proper justification, all these things carry real exposure. A realtor who specializes in probate understands the executive legal obligations and works within those. If real estate is involved in your estate, reach out. A property assessment is free, it comes with no obligation, and gives you much more information that's useful when having these important conversations with family members as to what the best course of action is for the real estate. If you have questions about your specific situation, or you need a probate attorney, a CPA, real estate guidance, or connections with any of the vendors or professionals that you might need throughout this process, and there are several, I can connect you with the right people. Thanks for watching. If you'd like to talk through your specific situation, I offer free consultation. There's no pressure, no obligation. Reach out anytime.